As we continue to think about the good life that we have with God, the good life that is made possible because of Jesus, we're going to spend time this month thinking about the relationship between the good life and contentment. And that may be one of the great weaknesses of God's church, especially in our country. We live in one of the richest nations in the world. I think you could say that this is still true, that we earn more, spend more, buy more, borrow more, own more, eat more, waste more than any other nation in the world. And yet so many people that live in our country are not content with what they have. We have a lot, but we want more. We have large homes. We want bigger ones. We have closets filled with clothing, but somebody say, I don't have anything to wear. You do. We have refrigerators filled with food. There's nothing to eat, you know. We have cars that run fine. We just want a newer, faster, nicer car than the one that we have. The average American, and maybe the average American Christian, lives one purchase away from real happiness. Ecclesiastes 5:10, whoever loves money never has money enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with his income. I think it's amazing how relevant the Bible is. You don't have to make the Bible relevant. It is relevant. It speaks almost in a way that is ageless. This is as true today as it was when it was originally written. If you love money, you're just never going to have enough. If you love wealth, people just never seem satisfied with their income. Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 7, all man's efforts are for his mouth, yet his appetite is never satisfied. We never seem to have enough. No matter how much we have, we're never quite satisfied. I think one of the reasons for discontentment is that there are billions of advertising dollars spent annually to make us feel like something is missing from our lives. And I kind of did a search of that. Is that an M or a B? Is it millions or billions? And according to a very simple, there's no scientific study here, I just put it in Google. How much do Americans spend advertising? Over billions of dollars every year. And what does that cause? Well, every couple of minutes somebody shows up on television to tell us that we can't really be happy with our life if we don't buy their product. It's like a worldwide conspiracy designed to destroy contentment. We're constantly bombarded with sales pitch. No matter how much you already have, your life will not be complete without one more thing. I know life is good, but it'd be even better if you bought this product. And I think the reason most people can't find contentment is because they're looking for it in the wrong places. Tyler did a great job on Sunday nights walking through some really difficult themes in Ecclesiastes. I just love chapter 2. As we read through some of what was just read to us as our scripture reading a moment ago, you can just see this is such a human thing to be searching for contentment, but looking in the wrong places. We shouldn't be surprised by most of this. I mean, a lot of people, they're looking for contentment, but they look for it in wealth. Money, things money can buy. In the first place, most of us look for happiness is in the area of material wealth. We think that if we have enough money, if we could afford to buy all the things we've always wanted, we would finally be happy. Do you know how many miserable rich people there are in the world? That they have a lot, but they're really not happy people. People think, or people who think that way tend to forget about, it's a basic problem of human nature, and enough is never enough. The more you get, the more you want, and the reason money's not the answer to true contentment, here's what happens. As soon as you get think about this, if you got everything you want right now, you got it all, you know what you would do? You'd get another list tomorrow of things that you want, and I can't be happy. I just can't be happy unless I get all these things. Probably isn't one person here this morning who hasn't played the if-only game, right? If only I could buy that new dress, those new shoes, that new car. If only I could move in to the, my dream home. If only I could afford to, I'm talking about advertising dollars. You know what else is taking away from our sense of enoughness, of contentment, is social media. If only I could afford to go on these vacations, that I see all these other people. That's how people think. It's robbing us. We're comparing what other people are doing. By the way, you're just looking at their highlight reel. Nobody posted, I had the worst fight with my wife this morning. That wasn't on Facebook. Did you know that? It's just the highlights where everybody's smiling and everything's going well. But it destroys our contentment because we think, if I can't do what they're doing, if I can't afford the lifestyle they seem to enjoy, well, then I can't be happy with the blessings that God has poured out in my life. People who live like that are putting off contentment. Contentment is always one more purchase away. And Solomon had all the same thoughts. But unlike us, he had the checkbook. He had the bank account to play the game. If he wanted it, he could afford it. And so look, in verse 8, I amassed silver and gold for myself, the treasure of kings and provinces. Verse 9, I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. Verse 10, I denied myself nothing that my eyes desired. I really believe that there are people, maybe even some today, that think if they could do what verse 10 says, they'd really be happy. If I see it and I want it, I could just get it. If I ever got to the point financially where I could get anything I wanted, well, then I'd really be happy. Here's verse 11, what he says about that. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless. A chasing after the wind, nothing was gained under the sun. Verse 17, I hated life because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me, all of it meaningless, a chasing after the wind. If only I could do this and afford that and purchase. And he said it's just a bunch of nothingness. He didn't find happiness. He didn't find contentment in the abundance of his wealth, nor did he find joy in the abundance of his possessions. He said it was grievous and meaningless, like chasing after the wind. Here's a little secret. The good life, the one that truly satisfies, it exists only when we stop wanting a better one. That itch for things, the lust for more, I think it's a sickness that drains our spiritual contentment. Satisfaction comes when we step off the escalator of desire, always wanting to move up in life, and we're able to say, you know what? This is enough. Even if I don't ever get anything else, what I already have in my life with God, what He's already given me, what He means to me, that is enough. That may not be what people want to hear, but it is the truth. And if you keep seeking joy and money and the things money can buy, you're going to become increasingly more. Listen, life just becomes unbearable. And you know this. You know that money cannot buy happiness. In Luke 12 and verse 15, Jesus says, watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Listen, your life, it doesn't consist of the abundance of your possessions. Life is more than what you have. You are more than what you have. And that's an important lesson And the sooner we learn that, the sooner we can enjoy this good life that God has given us. The wise man in the book of Ecclesiastes looks for contentment in fame, in accomplishments. Popular culture has coined the phrase famous for being famous. People want to attain celebrity status without any identifiable reason, without any distinguishing accomplishments. There are people in our culture that are tremendously popular, but you can't really connect it to anything they've achieved. There are a lot of young people that are just sick over how many followers do they have? How many likes did they get? How much is their social media platform growing? They want to be famous. They want to be known. They want to be loved and liked and admired. But that idea of famous for being famous, there is a huge desire for that kind of recognition. And I think a lot of our young people especially, I don't know that all of social media has been psychologically healthy for them or for any of us. But what I want you to see as we continue to walk through the verses of Ecclesiastes 2, Solomon is not looking just to be famous for being famous. He wants to achieve something. He wants to accomplish something with his life. He actually has ambition and goals. Verse 4, I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. Verse 5, I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. Verse 6, I made reservoirs of water, groves of flourishing trees. Verse 9, again, I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. These verses stress Solomon's effort to find earthly satisfaction as a builder, as an achiever. He set out to build great buildings, to gain fame and acclaim, but again, verse 17, I hated life. The work that is done under the sun, it was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, chasing after the wind. Despite all the wonderful projects he started and completed, Solomon is still not content. It's strange. There's a sad emptiness that sometimes follows high achievement. Some goal that we've sacrificed and just worked for years to achieve this objective or to experience, this goal that we've set for ourselves, and then you reach it, and there's a little bit of a letdown. Several years ago, I read this book by Phil Jackson. It was called Sacred Hoops, and he talks about winning the 1971-72 NBA championship. As we look at this quote, maybe you can relate. Not winning a championship, but some other goal that you had in your life, and then when you reached it, it was a little bit of a letdown. He said the post-game festivities in L.A. were exhilarating. This was the pinnacle of my sports career to that point, the moment I had been striving for with all my heart since I was a kid. And yet 2 days later, when we gathered in New York for a celebration with family and friends, the thrill was suddenly gone. The intense feeling of connection with my teammates I'd experienced in L.A. seemed like a distant memory. Instead of being overwhelmed with joy, I felt empty and confused. Was this it? Is this what was supposed to bring me happiness? Clearly, the answer lay somewhere else. And I think Solomon experienced the same emptiness. And he reached the same conclusion that the answer to true happiness can't be found in high achievement or widespread recognition. It has to be somewhere else. And so he kept searching. I know that even though we love God, even though we're trying to pattern our lives after Jesus, there is a temptation to search for contentment in things like wealth or popularity, fame, recognition, or pleasure. The idea of maybe the answer isn't in possessions, maybe it's in experiences, maybe it's in pleasure or in self-indulgence. And that's the third place where Solomon starts to look. The technical word for what we're talking about is hedonism, the idea, a philosophy that encourages people to maximize pleasure by minimizing pain. A hedonist lives by the credo, if it feels good, do it. I mean, what's the harm? If this gives me pleasure, then why shouldn't I do whatever it is? If it's pleasurable, why shouldn't I experience it? And so the question for this morning is whether that philosophy really leads to contentment. Solomon put that question to the test. We're looking at the first 3 verses and then verse 8. I thought in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good, but that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is foolish. What does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with wine, embracing folly, my mind still guiding me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was worthwhile for men to do under heaven. During the few days of their lives, I acquired men and women singers and a harem as well, the delights of the heart of man. I'll just say it seems strange that the same man in Proverbs who wrote the Proverbs 20 and verse 1, wine is a mocker, beer, a brawler, whoever is led astray by them is not wise. It seems strange that the man who wrote those words would embrace folly by cheering himself with wine. That's what he did. He said, I'm going to experiment with some of these things. What gives life meaning? Where do I find a sense of contentment? Regarding sexual escapades of this man, 1 Kings 11 and verse 3, he had 700 wives of royal birth, 300 concubines, 1,000 women at his, think about anything he wanted to experience, the boredom to him. He almost couldn't find the words to express it. He ran out of words to say it. All the pleasure that his arrangement as king over that nation afforded him left him feeling empty and bored. The wisest man who ever lived is telling us the truth. He's telling us the truth about illicit sex, about alcohol, about drugs, about everything else that appeals to the flesh. The conclusion is clear. It's meaningless. It's not what so many people think that it is. It's meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. This idea of hedonism, that pleasure is the ultimate good. Well, when people pursue that lifetime, I think they're often shocked and amazed when they discover all the things that make them feel so good are also the things that make them miserable. They can't seem to understand that their momentary pleasure results in deep and lasting pain. Another secret I think the devil doesn't want you to know. The more we surrender to the desires of the flesh, the more miserable it makes us. You see, the problem with the night before is that it's always followed by the morning after. When you wake up and you have to live with the shame and the humiliation of all the things you've done. And no one's ever found lasting happiness in a life of unrestrained pleasure. It's not the path that leads to peace. It's not the path that leads to contentment. There are a lot of people that those 3 things we just talked about, if I just had enough money, if people knew me and admired me and respected me, if only I could really live life on my terms and go out and experience the pleasures of this world, then well, folks, here's a man who played that game. And he said, it's not any fun. It just doesn't do what you think it's going to do. I want to say this. I know we're going now from Ecclesiastes to Genesis, but I want you to think about the real sin in the Garden of Eden. Because a lot of times I think we narrow that down to disobedience. God says you can have everything in the garden, any fruit, all the trees, except, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The day you eat of it, you'll surely die. They've got one command. They break the command. And so we think, the problem, the great sin was disobedience, but it wasn't disobedience. It was discontentment. It was looking at everything that God gave them and saying, this isn't enough. We want more. And you know what Solomon is saying? He's saying, I tried it. I tried everything, and there isn't anything under the sun that fills the emptiness in the void in my life. And if there isn't anything under the sun, maybe you need to look above the sun where God dwells in unapproachable light. He's the God of real meaning and contentment. And the great sin is looking at God and saying, you're not enough. I want more than you. And I want more than what you've given to me. And I think there are a lot of people that really believe if I can just throw off the restraints of being in relationship with God, if I can just go do life on my terms, get what I want, do what I want, live the way I want, it's going to make me happy. And they're some of the most miserable people that you're ever going to meet in this world. But others have decided that what I've found with God means more to me than anything that I might have to give up in this life to be in relationship with Him, because He's more than enough. Where is your search for contentment? Where's it leading you? All I'm telling you is that the people that we're reading about in Scripture, and especially this man, who's been given a divine wisdom by God, Solomon's he's already been there ahead of you. He's already been down that road. And he's come back to say, it didn't work. I tried pleasure, I tried fame, I tried wealth, and you know what? Everything I always wanted was right here all along. Real contentment is found in a relationship with God. This is not a great way of saying it, but I want you to think about the enoughness of God. He is more than enough. If you've tried everything else, can I invite you this morning to try a life centered in a relationship with God that's made possible through His Son, Jesus Christ. We have peace with God. This is Romans 5, verse 1. Peace with God through His Son, Jesus Christ.